Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question that you may have been avoiding. Why do you keep failing? Why does it feel like no matter how hard you try, you're always one step behind, always falling short, always feeling like you're not enough? Let me tell you something, the real reason you fail isn't because you're weak. It's not because you're not talented, and it's definitely not because you're unlucky. You fail because you're afraid, afraid of pain. Afraid of judgment, afraid of discomfort, afraid to truly commit to the fight. I speak from a place of truth, a place of struggle. A wheelchair was supposed to define the rest of my life. Doctors told me I would never walk again, never paint again, never smile again, but they were wrong. You see, failure didn't come from falling. It came from believing I had no reason to rise, but I learned something. The moment you stop blaming the world, your past, your trauma, and start owning your choices, that's the moment you take your power back. We fail because we choose silence over courage. We choose comfort over growth. We choose excuses over responsibility. But here's the truth. Your failures are not your enemy. They are your greatest teachers. They are the mirrors that show you what needs to change. And when you look at those failures and say, I own this, I will rise again, better and stronger. That is when the game changes, because you were not born to break. You were born to bend, to fall, to shatter, and then to rebuild, stronger, wiser, unstoppable. Failure, a word that carries so much weight, fear, and misunderstanding. We are conditioned to see it as something final, something shameful, something to avoid at all costs. But what if that belief is exactly what's holding you back? What if failure isn't the end, but the beginning of something greater? When we try and fall short, society often points fingers. Friends distance themselves, doubts creep in, and our inner voice becomes our loudest critic. It says, you weren't good enough, you didn't have what it takes, you failed. And we believe it. We wrap our self-worth around outcomes, thinking that a misstep defines who we are. But it doesn't. Failure is not a dead end, it's a detour. Sometimes the most important one you'll ever take. The most profound transformations often begin at the lowest point. When life strips you of comfort, when your plans collapse, and when the path you thought was yours disappears, something powerful happens. That moment of failure forces you to reevaluate everything. It forces you to pause, to reflect, and most importantly, to grow. You begin to realize that the breakdown was necessary for the breakthrough. Think of a seed buried in the darkness of the soil. From the outside, it may seem like nothing is happening, but deep inside, that seed is cracking open, breaking apart. That process looks like destruction, but it's actually the beginning of life. The seed has to break in order for something new to grow. That's what failure does to us. It cracks us open. It challenges our ego. It humbles our pride. And in doing so, it plants the very seeds of our future success. Everyone who has ever achieved anything significant has failed, often repeatedly. The difference lies not in the number of times they fell, but in their refusal to let the fall define them. They chose to look at failure not as a sign to quit, but as feedback, as direction, as a necessary part of the journey. That shift in mindset is everything. When you start to see failure as a lesson, you unlock the ability to try again, with better insight, stronger determination, and a deeper understanding of what truly matters. You don't grow when everything is easy. You grow when you're tested, when you're stretched, when you have to dig deep and find strength you didn't know existed. It's in those moments, when you're on your knees wondering if you have anything left, that you discover who you really are. That's when resilience is built. That's when grit is born. That's when character is forged. The truth is, failure doesn't break you. What breaks you is giving up. What breaks you is believing the lie that one setback defines your entire worth. But when you stand back up, even with trembling hands and a broken heart, you are choosing to believe in something greater. You are saying, this is not the end of my story. I am not finished yet. Every time you fail, you are gathering the tools you need to succeed. You are sharpening your skills, learning what doesn't work, and gaining clarity on what truly does. Those who succeed don't have fewer failures, they have more. They've simply learned to stop fearing them. So stop looking at failure as proof that you're not good enough. Start seeing it as proof that you're trying, that you're daring to do something meaningful. Start appreciating the courage it takes to pursue your dreams, knowing you might fall. Because falling is not the same as failing. Failing is refusing to get back up. You are not your mistakes. You are not your missteps. You are the sum of every time you chose to begin again. That choice, that fire in your spirit, is what separates those who live fully from those who live in fear. Failure is not your ending. It's your invitation. Your invitation to rise, to rebuild, to become the person you were always meant to be. And that journey, that messy, unpredictable, beautiful journey, that is just getting started. Fear is a quiet thief. It doesn't always scream or shout. Sometimes it whispers. It creeps in slowly, convincing you to doubt yourself, to hesitate, to shrink back just when you're about to step into something new. It disguises itself as logic, caution, even wisdom, but underneath it all, it's just fear, and more often than not, it's the real reason why dreams die, why potential remains untouched, and why so many people live lives far smaller than they are capable of. Fear holds you back not because it's powerful, but because it's persuasive. It convinces you that taking a risk will lead to disaster. It reminds you of past mistakes and magnifies them so that you forget your victories. It tells you that you're not ready, not qualified, not worthy. And the worst part is, it doesn't need to be true. It just needs to be loud enough that you listen. So many opportunities are missed not because someone lacked the ability, but because they hesitated. That hesitation becomes habit. The more you obey fear, the stronger it gets. Each time you say no to something because of fear, you give it power, and soon enough, it starts running your life. It determines what you attempt, who you talk to, where you go, and what you believe is possible for yourself. Fear is not just about danger, it's about discomfort. It shows up every time you're about to step out of your comfort zone. That could be speaking your mind, trying something new, applying for that dream job, or walking away from something that no longer serves you. The moment your spirit begins to stretch, fear tries to pull you back. But the truth is, you cannot grow and stay comfortable at the same time. Growth requires movement, and movement requires courage. The voice of fear is often disguised as protection, but in reality, it's a prison. It convinces you that staying safe is better than trying and failing. But what it doesn't tell you is that staying safe can cost you more than failure ever could. Staying safe might protect you from pain, but it will also rob you of joy, purpose, and the satisfaction of knowing you gave your all. Facing fear doesn't mean it disappears. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision to move forward despite it. It's looking fear in the eye and saying, "You don't get to decide what I do." The people who go on to live meaningful lives don't do so because they feel fearless. They do so because they choose to act even when their hands are shaking and their hearts are pounding. There is power in walking into what scares you. On the other side of fear is freedom. Freedom to be yourself, freedom to dream bigger, and freedom to live without the constant weight of what if. Every time you challenge fear, you weaken its grip. Every small act of bravery builds momentum. One step turns into two. A whisper of doubt becomes a roar of confidence. And don't expect fear to disappear completely. It will show up again and again, especially when you're doing something important. That's because fear is a signal. It doesn't always mean stop. Sometimes it means pay attention. Sometimes it means you're on the edge of something powerful. When you learn to interpret it differently, it stops being a warning and starts being a compass. The real tragedy isn't in feeling fear, it's in letting fear decide. Letting it shape your choices, your relationships, your future. Life is too short to let fear write your story. You have too much potential, too much fire in you to let fear be the loudest voice. So the next time fear shows up, don't run, don't shrink. Pause, breathe, and remember that everything you want is on the other side of that feeling. The love, the success, the peace, the fulfillment. It all lies just beyond fear's reach. And when you push past it, even if just a little, you'll realize fear was never the real enemy. It was just the obstacle you had to conquer to become who you truly are. Pain is one of life's most misunderstood experiences. Most people do everything they can to avoid it, suppress it, or escape it. But the truth is, pain isn't just an unfortunate side effect of living, it's an essential part of becoming. Growth does not happen in the comfort zone. It happens in the moments that stretch you, challenge you, and test your endurance. It happens when things don't go according to plan, when your heart is broken, when your spirit is tired, and when you're forced to keep going anyway. Pain teaches in ways that comfort never can. It strips away the illusions. It shows you what matters. It reveals what you're truly made of. In pain, you learn resilience. You learn patience. You learn how to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. And in that stillness, you discover strength you didn't know existed. Most people think the goal is to avoid pain, to build a life so perfect that nothing can touch them. But that's not real. That's not living, that's hiding. Because no matter how carefully you try to control your world, pain will find its way in. Life isn't about avoiding pain. It's about knowing what to do with it when it comes. It's about transforming pain into power, turning suffering into meaning, and letting every scar remind you that you survived. It's in the moments when you want to give up but choose to take one more step that the transformation happens. It's in the sleepless nights, the unanswered questions, and the long road of uncertainty. That's where the foundation of greatness is laid. You don't become stronger by avoiding struggle. You become stronger by embracing it, by moving through it, by refusing to let it break you. The truth is, anything meaningful comes with pain. Ask an athlete about training. Ask an artist about their early days. Ask anyone who's ever built something from nothing. The pain wasn't an accident, it was the process. They learn through the bruises, the failures, the sacrifices. And while the world may only see the results, it's the unseen pain behind the scenes that built the victory. There will be times when pain makes you question everything you're worth, your direction, your purpose. But sometimes the breakdown is what clears the path for the breakthrough. Sometimes life has to shake you, break you, and pull you apart to rebuild you into the person you were always meant to be. That doesn't make the pain easier, but it gives it purpose. You don't have to love the pain, but you do have to respect it, because buried inside it is wisdom. Hidden within it is a version of you that's more grounded, more powerful, and more awake than the one who started. You'll never meet your strongest self in moments of ease. You meet that version of you when you've been through the fire and kept walking. Pain also has a way of humbling us. It reminds us that we don't have all the answers, that life isn't always fair, and that control is often an illusion. But in that humility, we gain compassion not just for others, but for ourselves. We start to realize that struggling doesn't make us weak. It makes us human, it makes us real, and the beautiful part is this: pain doesn't last forever. It comes, it teaches, and eventually it fades. But what stays is the person you became through it, the lessons, the strength, the depth. So if you're in pain right now, don't numb it, don't run from it, and don't pretend it's not there. Let it shape you, let it teach you, let it move you toward who you're meant to be. Life isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about honoring the journey, the highs and the lows, the wins and the wounds. Every painful experience has a purpose, even if you can't see it yet. One day you'll look back and realize that pain was not the punishment, it was the passage. It was the fire that refined you, not the flood that drowned you. So hold on, trust the process, and remember pain isn't where your story ends, it's where your strength begins. There comes a moment in life when excuses no longer work, blaming others, blaming the past, blaming circumstances. It all eventually runs out of power. That moment is the turning point, the beginning of something real. It's when you decide to take full responsibility for your life. Not just the wins, but the losses. Not just the good days, but the tough ones too. That decision changes everything because responsibility is not a burden, it's the gateway to freedom. Taking full responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault. Life throws things at you that you didn't ask for. People hurt you, opportunities are taken, circumstances get out of control, but taking responsibility means that no matter what has happened, you choose how to respond. You decide what happens next. You own your choices, your attitude, your behavior, and your growth. That's where your power lies. It's easy to stay stuck in blame. It feels safe. When you blame others or the world, you never have to look inward. You never have to admit that maybe you could do better, be better, try harder, or let go of what's no longer working. Blame keeps you comfortable, but it also keeps you small. It convinces you that your future depends on someone else fixing what's broken. And while you wait for that, life passes you by. Taking responsibility is uncomfortable because it means facing the truth. It means admitting that sometimes you made the wrong call, that you wasted time, that you let fear or pride or ego get in the way. But it also means something else. It means that you're not a victim of life. You are the author of your story. You can change the direction. You can choose new habits, new standards, new beliefs. That's a powerful place to stand. There's no growth without ownership. You can't change what you won't confront. And you can't confront what you're still blaming on someone else. The most successful, fulfilled people aren't the ones with the easiest lives. They're the ones who stopped making excuses. They looked at their life, no matter how broken or unfair, and said, "This is mine to fix. This is mine to build. This is mine to shape." That mindset doesn't guarantee instant success, but it guarantees progress. You become dangerous to doubt and fear when you start taking responsibility. Suddenly, your failures become fuel, not shame. Your struggles become stepping stones, not stop signs. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission to succeed. You stop asking the world to make it easier. You start asking yourself, what can I do about this? What's the next step I can take? How do I rise from here? Taking responsibility is also about integrity. It's about doing what you said you would do, even when no one's watching. It's about being honest with yourself. Are you really doing your best? Are you really showing up fully? Are you keeping the promises you made to yourself? It's easy to lie to others. It's harder to lie to the mirror, but the mirror tells you the truth, and when you take responsibility, you start listening to it. No one's coming to save you. That's a hard truth, but it's also a freeing one. Because it means you don't have to wait for perfect timing, perfect conditions, or perfect people. You just have to start where you are with what you have. Take ownership of your time, your energy, your thoughts. Your actions. Life gets better when you do. People who take full responsibility don't waste time comparing themselves to others. They're too focused on becoming better than they were yesterday. They don't dwell on what they can't control. They double down on what they can. That focus, that accountability, creates momentum, and momentum changes lives. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be accountable. Every step forward begins with that mindset. Own your journey, own your mistakes, own your greatness. Life won't always be fair, but you still get to choose how you live it. You still get to decide what kind of person you become. When you take full responsibility, you stop surviving, and you start leading. You stop existing, and you start living, and the life you truly want begins not when things change around you, but when something changes within you. That shift. It starts the moment you say, "This is mine." Failure has a way of sticking. It lingers in the back of your mind, echoing at the worst possible moments. It can feel like a brand, something permanent, something that defines you. But that's the lie we're often sold. That failure is a label, a verdict, a reflection of who you are. In reality, failure is not a label. It's a lesson. It's not a sentence you carry forever. It's a moment that offers wisdom. If you're willing to receive it, too often, people wear their failures like name tags. They introduce themselves by what went wrong, the job they lost, the relationship that ended, the dream that didn't work out. They walk through life with that burden, allowing it to influence their decisions, limit their risks, and shrink their vision. But failure doesn't define you. Your response to it does. What you do after the fall, how you rise, how you learn. That's what tells the world who you really are. Mistakes are part of growth. No one gets everything right the first time, or even the 10th. Behind every success story is a trail of missteps, bad choices, and painful lessons. The difference between someone who rises and someone who stays stuck isn't that one avoided failure, it's that one refused to be defined by it. They saw the lesson, not the label. They looked for meaning instead of shame. Every failure carries a message. Sometimes it's to slow down. Sometimes it's to try a different approach. Sometimes it's simply a reminder that you're stretching yourself beyond your comfort zone, and that discomfort is a sign of progress. When you treat failure as a teacher rather than a judge, it transforms how you experience setbacks. They become part of the journey, not the end of it. It takes courage to fail and try again. It takes humility to admit that something didn't work, but in that humility lies strength. When you can look at a failed attempt and say, "What can I learn from this?" you're already growing. You're moving. You're refusing to let that one chapter write your whole book. Sometimes failure happens publicly. People see it. They talk. They judge. But remember, their opinions don't carry the weight of your potential. They only see the surface. They don't know your story. And they definitely don't get to decide where it ends. What matters is what you learn behind the scenes. The quiet realizations, the hard, earned insights, the inner resilience that only shows up when things fall apart. Failure can be a gift, though it rarely feels like one in the moment. It clears the path. It reveals what wasn't meant for you. It forces you to reassess your values, your goals, and your habits. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs come after what seems like the worst kind of breakdown. That's because failure shakes things loose. It exposes the weak spots and invites you to rebuild stronger. There's also a freedom that comes with failing. Once you've faced it, once you've survived what you thought you couldn't, it loses its grip on you. You start to realize that failure didn't destroy you. It refined you. It prepared you. It made you more grounded, more focused, and more determined. You learn that you can fail and still be worthy. You can stumble and still be strong. Labeling yourself based on your failures limits your future. Lessons, however, expand it. They become the foundation you build on. Each lesson makes you wiser, sharper, and more equipped for the next challenge. Success that's never been tested lacks depth, but success that's been forged through failure carries weight. It's rooted. It's real. You are not your failed attempts. You are not the things that didn't go as planned. You are not the missed opportunities, the wrong turns, or the broken pieces. You are the builder, the learner, the one who keeps going. Every lesson you gather makes you more capable, not less. And the sooner you stop labeling yourself by the past, the sooner you step into the future you deserve. Failure isn't your identity. It's your instructor. Let it teach you, let it shape you, and most importantly, let it remind you that you're still here, still trying, and still evolving. That alone means you're already further than you think. There is something unshakable within you, something stronger than every challenge you've faced and every failure you've endured. It's the part of you that refuses to stay down, the part that whispers, "Keep going," when the rest of the world is silent. That part of you wasn't put there by accident. It exists because you were built to rise, not to merely survive life's hardships, but to overcome them, to grow through them, to rise above them and become someone stronger on the other side. Life doesn't offer guarantees of ease or certainty. There are moments that break your heart, test your patience, and shake your confidence. Moments that make you question your purpose, your path, even your worth. But these moments don't get the final say. They're part of the process. They're the chapters that shape your story, not the ones that end it. You were never meant to be defined by your low points. Pain, loss, failure. These are not destinations. They're transitions. They mark the end of one season and the beginning of another. You are not your worst day. You are not your hardest moment. You are what you choose to become despite them. Rising doesn't mean pretending everything is okay. It means standing up even when it hurts. It means facing the darkness and choosing to move through it. It means picking yourself up, piece by piece, even if your hands are shaking. It means believing that better is possible, even when you can't see it yet. Rising is not always loud or heroic. It's often quiet, steady, and personal. It happens in the small choices, to show up, to keep trying, to not give in. You've made it through things you thought would break you. You've carried weight that others couldn't see. You've found strength in silence, clarity in chaos, and courage in doubt. Don't overlook that. Don't forget what you've already overcome. The fact that you're still here means something. It means there's more for you, more to become, more to build, more to live for. You were built with resilience in your bones. It's not about never falling. It's about rising every single time you do. That's where your power is. That's what makes you unstoppable. Because every setback can be a setup for a greater comeback, if you choose to see it that way. You don't have to pretend to have it all together. You just have to commit to not giving up. Rising requires faith, not just in something greater, but in yourself. Faith that you are capable. Faith that your efforts matter. Faith that every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to where you're meant to be. Doubt will visit. Fear will try to slow you down, but faith keeps you moving. There will be days when rising feels impossible, when the weight of it all feels too heavy. On those days, remember that you don't have to rise all at once. Just don't stay down, rest if you need to, cry if you must, but then take one step, just one. That's how it starts, that's how you build momentum, and before you know it, you're standing again, stronger than you were before. You were built to rise not just for yourself, but for others. Your strength inspires. Your resilience lights a path. When you rise, you give others permission to do the same. You show them that it's possible. That pain doesn't get to define them. That rock bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation for something greater. You are not here to shrink, to settle, or to surrender to the pressure of life. You are here to rise, to grow through every hardship, to learn from every trial, and to become the highest version of yourself. That process won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Whatever you're facing right now, no matter how heavy or hopeless it feels, hold on to this truth. You were built for more, built to rise, built to endure, built to thrive. Let that truth guide you, especially when everything else feels uncertain. Let it be the reason you take one more step, speak one more word, fight one more battle. You've come too far to quit now, and no matter how many times life tries to knock you down, remember, you were never meant to stay there. You were built to rise, so rise. There will be times when you feel like the world is moving forward without you. Days when the weight of disappointment presses so hard on your chest that breathing feels like effort. Moments when it feels easier to give up, to let go, to convince yourself that maybe you're just not meant for something greater. But in those moments, the most important decision you'll ever make is to never give up on yourself. You are going to face rejection. You'll face setbacks. People may leave. Opportunities might fall through. Things won't always go your way, but none of that is a reason to give up on who you are or who you are becoming. The journey to anything meaningful is never smooth. It's rough. It's unpredictable. It will test your patience, your strength, and your self-belief. But you have to keep going, not because it's easy, but because you're worth the fight. Your value doesn't disappear because of mistakes. It doesn't vanish because you had a bad day or even a bad year. Your worth is not tied to your failures or your delays. You are allowed to grow at your own pace. You are allowed to fall and rise again as many times as it takes. What matters most is that you don't walk away from yourself in the process. There's a quiet power in persistence. Not the kind that screams for attention, but the kind that shows up again and again, no matter how hard the day before was. It's that inner voice that says, "I'm not done yet." It's not about being the strongest or the fastest. It's about being the one who refuses to quit. That's how change happens. That's how lives are transformed, not overnight, but over time, through relentless commitment to keep moving forward. No one else can fight for your dreams the way you can. No one else knows the vision that lives in your heart, the reason behind your efforts, or the depth of your desire. And because it's your dream, it's your responsibility to protect it, even when others don't understand it. Even when it feels out of reach, even when it seems like everything is falling apart, that's the moment you dig deeper. That's the moment you decide that quitting is not an option. You've already come through so much. Think of every time you thought you couldn't make it, and yet you did. Every time you were broken but somehow put yourself back together. That strength didn't just happen, it was built, and it's still building. You might not see the progress every day, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent, subtle, and invisible. Until suddenly it's undeniable. The relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for your entire life. If you abandon yourself when things get hard, how can you expect anyone else to believe in you? But when you show yourself loyalty, when you refuse to give up even in the face of failure, that's when you become unstoppable. That's when your confidence starts to rise, because deep down you'll know, no matter what happens, you've got your own back. It's okay to pause. It's okay to rest. It's okay to cry and feel frustrated and overwhelmed. But it's not okay to give up on yourself, not when there's still breath in your lungs and purpose in your heart. There is still time, there is still hope. You are still in the fight, and that means anything is possible. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who never fall. They're the ones who never stop getting back up. They keep showing up for themselves day after day, moment after moment, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because they understand that the most important person they can believe in is themselves. So hold the line, trust your journey, and even when it feels impossible, keep taking the next step. Don't count yourself out. Don't silence your voice. Don't settle for less than what you know you're capable of. Keep building. Keep believing. Keep rising. You are not finished. You are not forgotten. And you are not a failure. You are a fighter. You are a survivor. You are becoming. And every step you take is one step closer to the life you were born to live. Never give up on yourself, because the world needs what only you can give.